Hello and welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Sunday, November 30th. This is episode 86 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Make sure to please like and subscribe here on YouTube. Another week of football is upon us. Week 13, already 4 games in the books on Thanksgiving, 3 and then 1 on Black Friday. And now we get set for a full slate this afternoon and then a Monday night game tomorrow night between the Giants and the Patriots to close out Week 13 and close out November football. Tomorrow is the start of December football, the start of the home stretch here in the NFL as we continue to follow these playoff races, the playoff picture, and get things going into December, into January, and eventually into the postseason. But a lot to discuss today. DiMari, how's it going, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, December is going to ramp us up for a lot of good football. Usually around this time, we see maybe 2 to 3 divisions kind of already wrapped up. And for once, feels like for the first time in probably 10 years, this is not the case where a lot of teams are still able to win the division. A lot of playoff spots are still being fought for. No one has officially clinched yet. So that's always great when we get this late into the season and we still have important football. Although the slate today is kind of wonky with a lot of the good games going on Thursday. A great game going on Friday too. Nothing better than Christmas shopping and watching the Eagles lose. But
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, a lot to get into this week. A lot of big things we learned from Thursday's games that passed. A lot we learned from Friday, and a lot of things going on today. Some injuries that could kind of shape and change the playoff picture as we see it.
Yeah, definitely. We'll dive into the Thanksgiving games, the Thursday or the Friday game to open up the show. Then we'll get into the Daniel Jones injury, which is a big blow for the Colts and really makes things interesting in the AFC playoff picture. And we'll also dive into Chip Kelly being shown the door in Vegas as the Raiders move on from the offensive coordinator. And as always, we'll close things out with the underdog picks. But we'll start with what took place on Thanksgiving. We'll kind of just go in chronological order here of the game. Start with Packers, Lions, then dive into Cowboys and in the Bengals game, which was certainly a little bit of a surprise, I think, the nightcap. But we'll start with Green Bay, Detroit, 31-24. Packers win. Big win for the Packers, get to 8-3-1 on the season. They now continue to build some cushion in that playoff race. Still not in first in the NFC North. Still have those 2 big games, one of those coming up this next weekend against the Bears, but a big win for the Packers. But to me, this was more so a bigger blow for the Lions. This was a big game for the Lions, big opportunity to try and pick up a win against a divisional opponent who you already lost to and try and gain some momentum, as it's kind of been a bumpy season these last couple of weeks where it's been lose, win, lose, win, lose, win. And the wins have been against some bad teams, right? They beat Washington, they beat the Giants, but they've struggled against some of these better teams. And they did also have the bad loss to Minnesota. So Detroit finds themselves kind of, I don't want to say necessarily in life support because it's not like they're 5-7, but they find themselves right now behind a little bit and have to make up a lot of ground, and their schedule does not get any easier the rest of the way, especially next week against a Dallas team who's hot right now, which we'll get to here very soon. But what was your thoughts from this one?
I think I disagree. I think Detroit is on life support. I mean, obviously, we both knew the team wasn't gonna go 15-2 again this year, and a lot more pressure on Detroit just after the Parsons trade, and people expecting Chicago to be better, Minnesota kind of being up in the air, but we continue to think Detroit would win this division. And right now, this does not look like a team that is good enough to win a wild card game. And I know St. Brown went down very early in that game, and that obviously changed the whole entire game plan. But for Detroit, I mean, for Dan Campbell, at some point, you got to take the points. I think his approach going into a lot of these games is being so aggressive on fourth down all the time. Even though the Jameson Williams drop could have been converted for a first down, but it's just like at some point you have to take the points, and we have seen this so many times from Detroit. It's almost like wash, rinse, and repeat, where we're being so aggressive, we're chasing points. Could it be because they don't trust the defense? Who knows? But just being ultra aggressive, and it comes to backfire. And I know you want to extend drives. You want to go out and win this game. You want to go in and beat Green Bay, who now they have swept you, and that further puts you down behind not only in the division but also in the NFC in general. But for Detroit, I mean, now you're kind of looking at yourself. You're looking in the mirror, and you're just like, hey, if we lose on Thursday, I think Dallas jumps us. If I think that is the case, because if Dallas wins, they're 7-5-1. Detroit will be 7-5. I think Detroit drops a spot behind Dallas, so now you're definitely underwater. You're trying to catch your breath. I mean, honestly, this is a team. Is disappointing a bad thing to say? Again, we didn't expect 15-2, but 7-4 and losing some of the games you've lost. I mean, 0-3 in the division. That's doesn't look good.
Yeah, no, it's been bad. I believe their only divisional win, or they might have they even. I think they. Yes, they did smoke the Bears. I believe
1-3.
Yeah, that was it. 1-3 in the division. But you look at just right. They started 4-1. Since that point, they are 3-4, and it's been inconsistent. It was a loss to the Chiefs, then a win against the Bucks, and then loss to the Vikings, beat the Commanders, loss to the Eagles, beat the Giants, lose to the Packers. So the theme has kind of been lose to a good team and then beat up on a bad team. And they barely even beat the Giants. And I know Jameis Winston and the Giants had some creativity actually in that game with the receiving touchdown, and Winston has played well and he's going to put up points and things like that. But beating the Giants in overtime for a team that he went into the year with Super Bowl aspirations for, a team that should be winning the division, it's 100% a disappointment. It's 100% you could call it a disappointment, because I think we both had them at 11-6. They're not going to sniff 11-6. There's a chance they don't even get to 10 wins. When you look at the rest of this schedule, you've got a hot Dallas team. You then have the Rams on the road, Steelers, Vikings, Bears. You're good chance you can lose 4 of those 5 games, potentially. Maybe they don't even finish above 500. I still think they'll probably find 2 wins in there. I think they could probably beat Pittsburgh and then maybe beat Minnesota to get to 9. But Dallas, the Rams, and Chicago, on the road in Chicago too, on the road against the Rams, that's a really tall task for a team that's not playing well. And the offense just doesn't look as crisp as it did, right? And I think, watching the game, when you look at Jared Goff's final stat line, it doesn't look too bad. 20 of 26, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns. But here we go again. He took the 3 sacks. And I get they were out without Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he had some misfires. Jameson Williams did have a good game, but the 1 4th down where he kind of threw it behind him a bit, Jameson Williams probably also should have caught that. But either way, and that also falls on Dan Campbell's plate of he's still going for it right now, as far as we know, in terms of not kicking a field goal. But the offense just hasn't looked as crisp, and that Dan Campbell took over play calling halfway through the season. And have we hit the phase with the Lions where, and we said this going into the year, this was like the first time in the Dan Campbell Lions era that there was people going into the year doubting them. After going 15-2, losing in the divisional round to the Commanders at home, a rookie quarterback, all that stuff. And then you lose Ben Johnson, you lose Aaron Glenn, both your coordinators. You start to wonder if this is, I don't want to say the end, but if they need a little bit of a retool here, a reset, especially if they don't make the playoffs.
I think so. I know Dan Campbell's been calling the plays. I think they need an offensive coordinator. Obviously, you're not going to find a replicated Ben Johnson, but just watching Detroit on Thursday, it's boring. And it's actually surprising to say that, but it's kind of boring. And I mean, watching them, I understand the big thing is you want to establish the run, you want to run the ball, you want to control the line of scrimmage. But there's no reason why Jared Goff should be 0 for 5, halfway through the second quarter.
Yep.
And we're just run. It looked awful. Like, the offense looked awful. And I mean, I think for Detroit, I think for Dan Campbell, I'm kind of on board with you. Like it has to be some type of fire under them, and they need to go out and find an offensive coordinator as well. But this team, they're just not. I don't say they're not good. I mean, still a winning record, but again, they have beat up on some very bad teams. But
Yeah.
I've kind of started off with, and I'm going to say it again. You head into the playoffs right now. Who do you beat? Who do you trust Detroit to beat? You can't even trust Detroit to win on Thursday at home against Dallas.
Yeah.
I know Dallas is red hot, but you're looking at a lot of these games, and I'm glad you brought it up. Like that's kind of perfect to say. You look at a lot of these games. I don't think Detroit will be the favorite in any of these games outside of maybe Minnesota and Pittsburgh, and you can't
Yeah.
even trust them to beat one of those two.
Yeah. I mean, they already lost to Minnesota at home. They'll get them on the road now.
Mm.
And they did smoke the Bears to open up the season.
Yeah.
And not that we'll get to the Bears, but that was also when the Bears, were 0-2, had a little bit of a bumpy start with Ben Johnson. It's a different story getting the Bears on the road late in the season in Chicago. That's a little bit of a different environment than playing them in week 2 at home with a new head coach. So that'll be a bigger challenge than what it was. Yeah, but there's no guarantee they beat Minnesota either because they already lost to them. Goff looks bad. He just does not look good. He looks like he honestly looks like he's old, really. He doesn't move very well in the pocket. That's always been a thing. But even that Eagles game, it looked like it was hard to watch that game. They didn't convert any of those fourth downs, and there was pressure a ton in his face. He's not mobile. Dan Campbell, going back to the NFC title game 2 years ago, talked about how that was maybe their only shot. It could have been, because if you break down the playoff standings right now, let's say the Lions sneak in as the 7th seed, they're probably playing either the Bears, because the Eagles are, we'll get to them, but let's say the Bears. I mean, we'll see what happens in that game week 18. If they sweep the Bears in the regular season, then maybe it's a different story, but it's tough to find a way to say that the Lions are going to make a run here, because it just doesn't feel like any solutions are on the way. You can't even blame the Amon-Ra St. Brown injury because James Williams went out there and had a big day. You got some production from Tom Kennedy, right? I believe the guy that they picked up off the side of the street. You got some production from him. Like, you got production in this game, and you still couldn't get it done. Now, in terms of the Packers, this was a really good win for them. I thought it was a good Jordan Love game. Big day for Christian Watson, who had 4 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. Dontavian Wicks as well, 6 catches, 94 yards. 2 touchdowns. Romeo Doubs found the end zone. What was your thoughts on this one from the Packers? I thought a strong day for the offense. Got Josh Jacobs back in the lineup. Started strong, right? Took an early 10-0 lead and maintained that lead the rest of the way.
This is kind of what we've been waiting to see from Green Bay. I think it only took 14 weeks or whatever the case was to finally get there, but better late than never. I like what I've seen from Jordan Love. I like what I've seen from the offense, getting a lot of people involved. And I mean, obviously, you kind of got to now with Tucker Kraft done for the year, but we finally seen Jordan Love be consistent. We saw Jordan Love make good decisions. We saw Jordan Love put them in situations to win the ball game, which is what they did. So I think if this Packers team and Jordan Love can continue to be consistent on the offensive side, we know the defense is going to be good. And I know some people can say, well, the defense kind of let Jameson Williams torture them. Well, guess what? You're not going to be shut out every single week. But if this offense can stay consistent, stay on the field, and just not limit themselves due to turnovers, I mean, they should be able to make a pretty decent playoff push. Right now, you're still fighting for the division. Chicago is on top of that division now. I think Green Bay has 2 matchups with them, if I'm correct. Yeah. So you still have a chance to win that division, but if this offense can stay rolling like they are, continue to get others involved, I mean, Green Bay could be a scary team come playoff time.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you what, whoever these schedule makers are, they were cooking with this. The NFC North schedule in general, they were cooking with this because you had Packers Lions on Thanksgiving, which was a late season matchup with some playoff implications from a Lions standpoint on the line there of, a win and you get a little bit tighter in the division, but also start to make some noise more in the playoff picture. You lose, and now, your season spiraling a bit. But the Packers still get to play the Bears twice here in 3 weeks. So you play Packers, Broncos, or rather Bears, Broncos, Bears for the Packers, which is exciting when you have a divisional race on the line. And yeah, I thought this is what you need to see from this Packers offense if they really want to make a run. And I think you've seen this the last couple weeks. They had the win against the Giants where Josh Jacobs left, but they found a way to win, albeit a bad Giants team. Then with Emmanuel Wilson, without Josh Jacobs, they went out there last week and beat the Vikings. And in this week, they kind of put it all together. So you need to continue that. And their schedule is interesting because you have the 2 Bears games, then you have Denver in between that, then you have the Ravens and the Vikings. So those Bears games will be huge. You find a way to win those, take care of business with the rest of them, and you see if you can take home the North. All right, moving on now to the second game of the afternoon on Thanksgiving. It was Chiefs-Cowboys. Cowboys win 31-28, make it 2 wins in a span of, 4 days. They take down the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, or rather the primetime 4 o'clock game, and then they turn around and take down the Chiefs. Now we wait for Cowboys-Lions as the Cowboys will look to make it 3 in a row. Cowboys 6-5-1. I'm going to lay this out here, and then I'll let you comment. We haven't had a repeat NFC East winner in forever. We find ourselves again in this situation where Eagles are starting to fall off a bit. Cowboys are getting hot. What are your thoughts in this game and maybe the chances the Cowboys swooping in and making things interesting in the NFC East?
A win on Thursday would definitely make everything very interesting. I mean, the Eagles' schedule for the in their favor. I don't see the Eagles completely blowing it. Then again, they've done it before, so it wouldn't surprise me. But the Eagles will have a get-right game here. This week coming up, I don't think they're going to lose the division. But for Dallas, you're getting hot at the right time. Win against Detroit is huge, and we spoke about this last week, where if you're going to lose one, it has to be the Chiefs or it has to be the Chargers. You don't necessarily have to win out. That would be perfect and set you up perfectly. But just to defeat 2 of the Super Bowl teams in a 4-day span, I think they're putting it together. I think they're finally starting to figure it out. But you kind of look back at the season, you're just like, you can't lose to the Cardinals. You can't lose to the Bears, even though the Bears look better now as the season goes on. You can't lose to the Panthers. Like, those type of games hurt when you see how good this team can be to its full potential. And I think if this team is able to get into the playoffs, they, knock on wood, they could be scary because this team does not show up come playoff time. But there's just a different feel around this Dallas team for once. And I honestly have more confidence in this team now than I had the 3 years of going 12-5. Like, the defense looks good. And I know Kansas City went out there, had a great day. Rashee Rice had a great day. Well, guess what? The Chiefs' offense is still good. They still have great weapons all around Mahomes. It's still Mahomes. You expect the defense to kind of struggle a bit against the Chiefs. But honestly, I have so much confidence in this team going into the playoffs if they were to make it. And it's just, you see so much of a shift in culture and these type of things where this game with Kansas City, that game with Philly last week, if Mike McCarthy is the head coach, they lose those games. If Mike McCarthy is the head coach of that Philly game, they lose by 40. It's different now. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Dak is playing like the MVP, best receiver duo in football. You finally get a run game. I know Javonte Williams didn't play as well as usual. Then he had 17 for 66, so not his typical type of game, but still enough balance to go out there and beat a very good Chiefs team, regardless of the record, a very good Chiefs team. So I could not have been more proud of what I saw from this team on Thursday.
Yeah, I agree. The Cowboys they look really good. Dak is playing at an extremely high level, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. And CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens continue to dominate, and a continued reminder that they have to get Pickens back in the offseason and keep that duo a thing moving forward. 112 yards from CeeDee Lamb, another 88 from Pickens. So tough to defend. They are running open a lot, and they also have the ability to make the tough catches. And there was a couple dimes from Dak. The one to CeeDee Lamb down the field was a dot, and you had Pickens as well, of course, have a big day, and Pickens has had a big year as a whole. I mean, you have Pickens, who's put up 1,142 yards on the season, which is second in the NFL, which is crazy, I think, exceeding any expectations anybody had for him going into this year as a number 2 receiver. And then CeeDee Lamb, who, missed some time, but I think that is his like third 100-plus yard game, fourth 100-plus yard game this season. So even though he's missed a couple of games where Pickens really took over in those games, CeeDee Lamb, you put his production across the full season. He's had some drops, but still very, very impressive and has been dominant for Dallas. The defense, Kansas City is going to make plays. Mahomes, like you said, he's going to make plays. That's what Patrick Mahomes does. But the defense is much improved from where it was earlier in the year. This was a defense that let up 37 points to Russell Wilson. I think people do have to realize that too, how far they've come from how bad they were early in the year. They were really, really bad to where they are now, which is, they did a good job against Philly after going down 21-0. They held Philly, shut them out. And then Vegas, same thing. You did what you were supposed to do against a bad team. You shut them down, and you made enough plays against the Chiefs. Quinn Williams has been phenomenal. He has been all around the quarterback. I actually saw a stat the other day. I believe he has more pressures in 3 games than I think he had with the Jets all of this year, which is crazy.
Yeah.
All it takes sometimes is go to a team that's trying to win, or does actually wins. But I think there's a real shot that they win this division. And I think there's a real shot that they win out. I really do, because you get a Detroit team next Thursday who's struggling. Then you get the Vikings, winnable. You then get the Chargers, both those games at home. You then get the Commanders and the Giants to close things out. And I don't want to skip ahead to the Eagles, but I think this Eagles team reminds me a lot of the 2023 Eagles, which is a collapse is happening, where the offensive coordinator is getting a lot of heat. The quarterback, Jalen Hurts, didn't play well on Friday. We'll get to that. You have the whole A.J. Brown situation. I know A.J. Brown had a huge day, but they blew the lead against Dallas. They had the bad loss to Chicago. As easy as their schedule looks, I could still see this Eagles team having some bad losses down the stretch, and that opens up the door for Dallas because they're getting hot at the right time. And I'll tell you what, the shoddy post-game locker room speeches are entertainment. Pure entertainment, yes. They're believing in him. He's got that team playing really well. And you give him a lot of credit, because you go back to the move early in the year, meaning when he was hired, you kind of had some questions about it. And I think what he's been able to do this year is super impressive from the standpoint of, this was a team that got off to a rough start. They were 3-5-1 going into their bye week, but they were able to come out of the bye week now and win 3 games in a row, win 2 back-to-back on Sunday and Thursday. That's impressive for a first-time coach. No other way to put it. Now, from the Chiefs standpoint, they are definitely on life support. I guess you could throw the Lions in that category too, but the Chiefs, to me, are definitely on life support. They're the 9 seed right now in the AFC playoff picture. They're not winning the division. And all of the teams that are ahead of them have the tiebreaker. Jacksonville beat them, and the Bills beat them. 2 teams that are ahead of them there in the final 2 playoff spots in the AFC. So they really have, and they still have to play the Texans, which if they lose that game to the Texans, then they'll lose that tiebreaker. So essentially they'll have no tiebreakers over any of those 3 teams. The only tiebreaker they would have is the Ravens, but the path to the Ravens getting in is through the AFC North title. So that not going to really, I don't think, affect the. I think the Ravens either win the North or they miss the playoffs. Is this? I don't think the Chiefs are making the playoffs. I think Thursday was the official. There is still maybe part of you that thinks they can run the table, and their schedule does lighten up a bit with Tennessee and Vegas still to play, but they're just not. They're not a good. They're not a good football team. And last year they were winning all these one-score games. They were winning all these tight games. They were squeaking out these wins. This year, they're not doing that. And when you look at it from that standpoint, are we surprised? Like, you're not going to be as good as you were in one-score games a year later.
This is a good football team that stinks. And I know I just gave them their credit for how Dallas wins his games, but when I say a good football team that stinks, you look at the weapons that they have, and you have Patrick Mahomes, and how good the defense could be. The defense has fallen off so much, if you ask me, from last year to this year. But still, like a middle of a pack defense, they are so talented on both sides of the ball. So that's why I say they're a good football team. But this football team stinks. And I said it last week, and I was 50% right. I was almost there. I said next time we shoot, the Chiefs will be 5-7. The Chiefs should be 5-7. The Colts found a way to blow that game at the end of it. The Chiefs should be 5-7 right now. And I think the dynasty is over. I mean, this is just really not that well of a football team on the field. On paper, they're great. On the field, they don't produce. Like, this is not a team that you can trust to make a run. I mean, you get Tennessee, you get Vegas. All right, well, you still have Houston. Next time you play Houston, Stroud is back, which we don't know how Stroud is going to look. He's missing time, so he could be rusty, but they're going to have Stroud back. You got the Chargers and you got the Broncos. Divisional games are always going to be tough. So you can't even count Kansas City in to make a run. And then even if they do, you're still fighting for your life because, like you said, two teams already have the tiebreaker on you. For Kansas City, I mean, I know the football world loves to see it. Everyone got sick of Kansas City every year. AFC Championship, Super Bowl. I get it. But this Chiefs team, I mean, I really don't know what direction for them to go in because I agree. They're not making the playoffs. I honestly think out of Houston, the Chargers, and Denver, they lose 2 of those games. So I think the season's cooked. They're not going to make it. They're definitely not going to win the division. But if you're Kansas City, I mean, what direction do you go in? You have a great quarterback. You have great weapons. Your defense is pretty solid. I just really can't put my finger on, outside of just the lackluster of a run game, I can't really put my problem on the issue for the Chiefs because this is the same team from last season. I don't understand what's so different besides not winning those possession games.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like, they're not winning these close games, which was the opposite of last year. But to me, what's weird about the Chiefs is these one-score games this year, I'd actually argue they're playing better in them than they were last year. Like, some of those one-score wins that they had were ugly, ugly wins. Like, they put up 19 points against the Raiders and Aiden O'Connell at home. That was the Black Friday game, I believe.
Yeah.
But that was ugly football. It took an Aiden O'Connell fumble to win that game. The Denver game, they had to block the field goal to win. So some of those were miracles. But I'd argue that if this team played like they did last year, they would probably win a lot of those games by much more, if that makes sense.
I agree. That's not crazy.
Yeah, and that's where maybe you want to say it happens. It's football. It's, you win some, I guess you lose some. One year you win all these one-score games, the next year you don't. I feel like, though, that's there's got to be another reason to this. I mean, the weapons are playing well. Rashee Rice had another good day. The run game's not good, but I would say that Kareem Hunt's done his
solid.
Yeah, he's been a solid. Yeah, I agree. Like, solid. Like, he had a good week last week against the Colts. Now, he wasn't averaging a very high amount of yards per carry, but he had a lot of carries. He had over 100 yards, and he had a touchdown. And for being a red zone threat, he's found the end zone 7 times this year, which is tied for 9th in the NFL. So he's inside the top 10. He had 4 straight games going into Thursdays with a touchdown, which is what he needs to do. And he took over, I think, solid for Pacheco. Now, I'm not trying to defend the run game. The run game does need to be better, but I don't think it's been dreadful. And the fact of the matter is, last year, they didn't have any electric run game. I think Kareem Hunt actually led the team last season in rush yards, and they made it to the Super Bowl. So and you're getting a better year out of Kelsey. He looks more like vintage Travis Kelsey. Last year, I believe he had 823 yards last year. This year's already at 719. And he's already got more touchdowns than he had last year. So you're getting a better version of Travis Kelsey this season, when it kind of felt like he was maybe on his way out from a production standpoint. So it's hard to comprehend Patrick Mahomes not making the playoffs. But,
And you look through, just throw it in there. I mean, we've talked about it countless times. I'm going to throw it out there again. You look at how bad the Chargers have been and how bad Denver has been. It's no way you would sit here and think, okay, this Chiefs team does not make the playoffs. And you look at some of the teams in front of them. Houston, with no C.J. Stroud for a good amount of time. Jacksonville, who you can't trust. You look at the AFC and just like, there's no way the Chiefs don't make the playoffs. And kind of to your point of how this year's team looks better than last year's teams in one score game, kind of say the same just about the division as well. Like, you look at the division, this probably seems the most wide open, the division. Well, the conference and division. The most wide open both have been for the Chiefs, and they're struggling. I know you got some really good teams in the AFC as far as standings, record-wise. But, again, you look at if this Chiefs team played anything like last year's Chiefs team, I mean, the 9-2 Denver Broncos don't scare you. The Colts don't scare you. None of these teams scare you. And for Kansas City, I mean, I know this kind of sounds crazy, but it kind of makes you think, like, is it a confidence thing? Just inside the locker room, is it a confidence thing? You finally run into some diversity. I know adversity. You run into a lot of adversity. You ran into some last year, obviously, and they found ways to overcome it. But this year, it just seems so different. Like, this team gets down, and there's just no confidence whatsoever in them to come back. No confidence to score. It's weird. It's weird for Kansas City. I mean, honestly, I'm not mad at it. I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs run away with the AFC every single year. But coming into this year, we thought, okay, Denver wins the division. We did think that. We didn't think it would be because Kansas City might not finish 500.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think we expected Denver to win the division more so by winning it, not the Chiefs losing it, I guess. And look, Denver's done a very good job. I mean, they're, in terms of record, they're 9-2. I mean, I don't know how much stock you want to put into that 9-2 record, but they're 9-2. They beat KC already. They'll get them one more time here late in the season on the road in Kansas City. So we'll see how that all plays out. But yeah, it's a tough spot for the Chiefs the rest of the way here. Now, moving on to an AFC North matchup to close out the Thanksgiving Day slate. Joe Burrow return, and the Bengals look good. The defense looks good, and all is good in the Bengals land. Who knew that's all it took was the Joe Burrow return for the defense to play a little bit better? Lamar Jackson just does not look good. He looks awful, to be honest. But a good win for the Bengals. Get to 4-8 on the season. The crazy part is about the situation in the AFC North is that the division is so bad right now that the Bengals, if the Steelers lose today, technically aren't even out of the conversation. At 4-8, and the Steelers at 6-6. Now they did lose to the Steelers. They split with the Steelers, the Bengals, but they have the Ravens one more time. If they could beat the Ravens, like the Bengals, it's funny, are not completely out of it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say in the AFC North. If the Steelers lose today, the Ravens lost to them already here, then you have 2 6-6 teams and a Bengals team who's 4-8 who will have the opportunity to have the head-to-head over the Ravens in 2 weeks. Now, they got to play the Bills next week on the road, which you could be getting a really desperate Bills team in that game if they do lose today to the Steelers. But what was your thoughts on this performance from the Bengals? A good win for them, a much-needed victory for them, because this is a team that's lost 4 in a row, and you could probably make the case that at least three of those games they probably should have won. Honestly, out of all 8 of their losses, you could probably make the case that 7 of them, let's say, probably could have been wins. Maybe only outside of the Steelers game on the road where they got beat pretty badly, and maybe the Denver game. I guess the Vikings. So maybe 5 of the 8 they should have won. But what was your thoughts?
Wash, rinse, and repeat. I feel like this is every year now with Cincy,
Yes.
and just if we make a run, we can make a run. We're not out of it. But yeah, you're right. Mathematically, they are not out of it. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch much of this game on Thursday night, but just looking at the final score of it, Baltimore looked awful, and since he looked good, I mean, that's what you expected for Burrow to be back. I mean, I believe it was 32 points, and it's kind of tough to say because they also were scoring 30 with Joe Flacco out there. But for Cincy, I mean, you get that confidence back, and you kind of mentioned it perfectly, jokingly, but like, hey, maybe Burrow coming back is the final infinity stone they needed to kind of figure it out. The defense kind of figured it out. They get more confidence in their offense. They get more confidence all together. They go out there and they play as a unit, and you go beat Baltimore on Thanksgiving, which was huge. For Baltimore, Baltimore stinks. Baltimore they're awful, and just going back to the talk of the AFC in a year where Kansas City is probably not going to make the playoffs. Surely the Bills or the Ravens, this has to be your year. Like, this is the year you make it to the Super Bowl. And I think that just speaks volumes to like this season in general. But Baltimore stinks. The division stinks. And going into it, if I'm being so honest, I mean, I could be going off for one game. It could be recency bias. But if I had to pick one team I thought can make the best shot in being competitive in the playoffs, it's probably going to be Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. Lamar and this offense, I mean, Lamar and this team in general, the defense has been bad all year, but this team is awful.
Yeah.
I don't know, like they're bad. I'm kind of lost for words because this team, it kind of reminds you of Detroit. That's been so good in every year. Like, the offense is so good, they're so high power. The defense is good enough to get the job done. And now this year on both sides of the ball, there's just games where they look like they don't even deserve to be on the field.
Yeah, they look bad. Lamar, to me, is the biggest thing in this, and not to pin it all on him, but he's clearly not 100%. And I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but just watching that Jets game 2 weeks ago, there was so many times where healthy Lamar takes it and runs it, tucks it and runs it, and picks up a big chunk of yards. And instead of doing that now, he's either just throwing the ball away, trying to find somebody open and waiting and then taking a sack, whatever. Even on this Thursday night game, rather, it was kind of the same story. He had the one good run on first down early in the game for about 11 yards, and then that was it. And the run game as a whole didn't get going. I mean, they couldn't really run the ball much because they were down. So Lamar had to drop back to pass 32 times. They only ran it 22 times, only 10 carries with Derrick Henry, which was kind of questionable. Running the ball 10 times with Derrick Henry is a very low amount. But yeah, I mean, that's what's just so weird about the AFC. And from the Bills standpoint, if you would have told the Bills fan that the Bengals, Ravens, and Chiefs wouldn't make the playoffs, this is your year. And then you look and the Bills are holding on for dear life as the 7th seed right now. So they're not necessarily taking advantage of that either. The AFC North, though, is just it's horrible. Whoever has the 5 seed, thank the football gods, because you're probably getting a wild card win.
Yeah.
I don't see either the Steelers or the Ravens. And I'll be honest, I'm wrong. I thought the Ravens were going to go on a run. I thought that the Ravens, Lamar would start to get back into form and they would really start to heat up. Even in the wins, they've been awful. Let's just tell like it is. Like they didn't look good against the Jets. That Browns game, they looked awful. And then they look awful against a competent quarterback in the Bengals, and you lose, and that's what happens. But the AFC North is terrible.
I'm sorry to cut you off here. It's just it's the talking about awful. The Ravens will not win a Super Bowl with Zay Flowers as their wide receiver one. And I know as a unit they didn't look good offensively, but 2 catches for 6 yards is not going to cut it. When the run game cannot get going.
Yeah. And he also fumbled twice. Lamar fumbled twice. And they had 4 turnovers in this game. They had 4 fumbles in this game. Isaiah likely had a fumble. Zay Flowers had a fumble. You add the fumbles in there. You add the lack of run game. Like you said, they got 2. Zay Flowers was targeted 7 times. They had 2 catches. They were 3 of 10 on third down. I mean, I'll tell you what, we are entering a phase in the AFC right now where could be a lot of change. Because let's break it down. Like, if the Ravens miss the playoffs, do you make a change with Harbaugh? Because he's there's a select few coaches, right? If they don't win the Super Bowl, they're on the hot seat. Sean McDermott's one of those coaches. John Harbaugh's been one of those coaches. Well, you look at now, Harbaugh might not make the playoffs. Sean McDermott might not make the playoffs. There's kind of the last couple of years, Zach Taylor's been under fire a bit. We'll see what his future is. I mean, we could see some changes.
I think you have to. And I know year after year things are going to change, but if you are, from the Ravens point of it, if you are the Ravens front office and, you're looking at Harbaugh, you're just like, a year with Joe Flacco on the Bengals, Joe Burrow out for the majority of the year, the Steelers being the Steelers, the Browns being the Browns, we couldn't make the playoffs. We struggled that much. And I know Lamar missed time, but we couldn't make the playoffs, and it looks bad. I think we talked about this last week, but when you look at other teams and you look at Mike Vrabel and you look at the Patriots and you look at the Colts, you look at other teams that basically were nothing last year and shouldn't even be in this conversation right now, have a better chance of making a push than your team who should have been a Super Bowl favorite coming into the year. You look at your head coach and you're just like, well, what's the deal? And I know we mentioned this before, and I'm kind of right there with you. I mean, if the Ravens do miss the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of conversation about Harbaugh and if he is the coach for the Ravens for the future and if he can get it done. Because, I mean, just year in and year out, you're constantly losing to Buffalo. You're losing to Kansas City. You can't get it done. There's going to have to be a change, and this might be the offseason for a change. It's inexcusable to why this team right now should be on the brink of missing the playoffs with Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Look at how they look.
I mean, not to be mean because he played well, but you're playing in a
Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers.
And I was also going to – the part of being mean was Shador. He played well, but I want to lay this out here. I get Lamar was hurt, but this is probably the weakest quarterback play you'll ever get in the AFC North. With Burrow being out for a long period of time, Aaron Rodgers being on his last leg, if you even want to call it that, his last wrist at this point with the wrist injury. Who the heck knows? Rodgers, he's just retired, dude. Okay, you're not any good. It's horrible football. Here we are again with the Steelers. It's like watching paint dry. The offense is terrible. Honestly, I thought Mason Rudolph did a better job operating the offense until the illegal formation. How do you take a legal formation penalty that late in the game? the Steelers' offense is painful to watch. Every year, it's like the game should be black and white because it's not modern NFL offense. Not to go on the Steelers rant, but from the Ravens standpoint, you're playing in a division that here have been the quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph have started for the Steelers. Rodgers is washed. Mason Rudolph is a backup. The Bengals had Joe Flacco and Jake Browning for an extended period of time. And I get Flacco is playing well, but backup. And then you have a Browns team that was Dylan Gabriel, started with Flacco, went to Dylan Gabriel, went to Shador. The point I'm trying to make is this is probably one of the most down years you'll get for the AFC North. And you're 6-6. And you're not even might not even make the playoffs. And the Bengals, you're right. They're going to win every single game. They're going to finish 9-8. And the Steelers will have the tiebreaker. They'll finish 9-8, and the Bengals will just miss the playoffs. And all offseason we'll talk about, if the defense could just be average, they'll be better. And next year, wash, rinse, and repeat. They'll start the season 1-4. They'll find a way to finish 9-8, not have the tiebreaker, and lose. And miss the playoffs.
Sums up perfectly because you mentioned Pittsburgh. That means Pittsburgh gets in the wild card and they lose to whoever falls in that 5 seed. So it's full circle moment, 365 for the NFL. Like I said, things change, but Cincinnati, the late season run, and Pittsburgh getting in just to lose in the wild card, some things never change, and we're on track for that.
Yeah, this is AFC North football at its finest. All right, one more game. The other North in the other conference looked good. The Chicago Bears pick up a win over the Philadelphia Eagles, 24-15, in what was a ugly football game, but a win for the Bears. That's kind of been the story a little bit of their season. Not always the prettiest victories, not always the most convincing wins, but they have found ways to win games. They have now won 5 in a row. They are now comfortably atop the NFC North with a couple big matchups against the Packers to really solidify that spot with wins over Green Bay in 2 of the next 3 games. But you go into Philly on Black Friday, a game that I think a lot of people saw the Eagles coming out and winning, and the Bears came out, found a way to win. What are your thoughts on this one? I still think the reaction nationally is the panic meter with the Eagles, but I think you have to give the Bears some credit here for winning a game like this when I think a lot of people probably questioned if they would be able to do that. What are your thoughts? And I guess where did you stand with the Bears going into this game?
I might be a hater. I still don't trust the Bears. I still don't think the Bears are contenders. I don't know what it is exactly, but there's nothing in me yet that can put belief in the Bears to go in to the playoffs and be taken seriously. And I know the record says otherwise. And you look at some of the games they won, and they've won some pretty big games. They beat some pretty decent teams. I still don't trust the Bears. They still got time to kind of prove their worth. You get Green Bay twice. You get Detroit still here to end the season. So they will have another opportunity. But for Chicago, it's just I think my belief, or the lack of belief in them, is I'm yet to see a complete game from the Bears. This Friday, they ran the ball exceptional. 200-plus yards on the ground, looked great. But Caleb Williams looked awful. There was no stink in the passing game whatsoever. I think it was 17 for 36, 154.
Yeah, and the pick.
So you're looking at Caleb Williams, and he didn't look good, and it's kind of hard to trust the offense when the quarterback doesn't look good. It's just luckily you had to pick me up from the run game for Chicago. But I still don't trust them yet. Maybe if you split with Detroit and you split with Green Bay, and you beat Detroit the last time, I think maybe I trust Chicago a little more. But right now, I cannot label them as contenders. And again, I could just be a hater. This could be football malpractice, but I don't think the Bears are serious.
Yeah, I think my level of confidence in the Bears rose a little bit in this game. And my confidence level for the Eagles tanked. Not that there was much there, but I really do think we're potentially going through another 2023 collapse with the Eagles. where there's a good chance they'd probably still make the playoffs, but I think there's a real chance that the Cowboys maybe overtake them in the division. We'll see how that all plays out. But with the Bears, I don't know. I'm going to give some credit to Ben Johnson because I think a lot of people, myself included, kind of went into the year. I was very down on Ben Johnson. I didn't like his comments to open up his introductory press conference where he was kind of already taking shots at Matt LaFleur, taking shots at the Packers before he even coached the game. And we'll see what happens. Hey, they play the Packers here 2 of the next 3 games. You lose both those games, then those comments don't look very good.
Yeah.
So there's still really none of what the Bears has done. I don't want to discount it, but really none of it matters if they go out there and get swept by Green Bay, because then you're going to lose the division, and it's kind of viewed as a little bit of a late season collapse. And for years, Green Bay has dominated you. So this is an opportunity to kind of start to rewrite things and rewrite that side of the rivalry, if you will. But he's coaching all 53 guys, and they believe in him. They're rallying around him. He's finding ways to get this team to win without, I would say, Caleb Williams really doing what I think many people expected him to do maybe in year 2. Like he's not elite. He's not taking the year 2 jump that I think everybody thought him. To be honest, he's more inaccurate this year than he was last year. He's completing under 60% of his passes. And in this game, he completed under 50% of his passes. And I think that just shows more. Look, I get Ben Johnson was brought in to help Caleb Williams, but I do think you have to give Ben Johnson a lot of credit because while Caleb Williams isn't playing that well, they're still finding ways to win these games. They're getting the job done. They're 9-3. I don't know if they're going to make a run, but I have a little bit more belief in the Bears today than I did going into Black Friday. Now, there's a very real chance that they could lose to the Packers, and I'm not surprised by that. I think they'll probably split, to be honest. I could see them splitting. Maybe. We'll see. But the Eagles standpoint, where do you stand with Philly? Because can I just say something? Saquon Barkley's not good. He's just I don't truly mean like not good, but he is he's a little overrated. And I get he had the great year last year, but and maybe this is just a frustrated Saquon Barkley fantasy owner, but this is now, he's disappeared these last couple of games. Let me just go prior to this game. 2.7 yards per carry, 3.2, 2.2. The run game is not there with Saquon. And nobody was asking him to go out there at the beginning of the season and rush for 2,000 yards again. But he's 15th in the NFL right now in rush yards. He's going to barely hit 1,000 if he keeps this up. He hasn't rushed. He's rushed for over 100 yards once this season.
Giants, 150.
Yes, the Giants.
Second highest.
Probably rushed for 150 yards against the Giants.
Second highest, I believe, was 80, between 80 and 85, I think, against the Chiefs.
Yep.
Other than that, he's not had a game more than 80. You can't put it all on Saquon, though. I'm watching that game.
I agree.
He's always getting hit in the backfield.
Yeah.
Always getting hit in the backfield.
Inconsistent pass game.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The thing is, for a successful run game, you have to be able to throw the ball. And I don't want this to seem like this is just straight Jalen Hurts slander, and I'm just completely just pouring down on Jalen Hurts. They're not a good team throwing the ball. And if you're going to rely on Jalen Hurts to throw the ball, they're not going to win many games. And I'm not saying, okay, every time Jalen Hurts has to throw, they're going to lose, because he played very good against Dallas for one half. And then you go look at the second half, and they can't do anything. But, we all know this. In order to be good running the ball, you want to have a reason for teams to not stack the box. You want teams to have to, play a certain coverage in order to run the ball. They're not doing that. And I've said this before, I say this to people I work with, just in topic. Right now, if you prepare for Philly, you're going into Philly or you're playing Philly, Philly's coming to you. You're not preparing for Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, and Devontae Smith to beat you. And I know that sounds kind of crazy with those caliber type of players, but you don't prep much. Okay, well, if we let Jalen drop back and throw the ball 36 times, we might be in trouble. No, you prepare for the run game, which teams are shutting down the run game that is relying on Jalen Hurts to throw the ball down the field, which he's not doing very good. And again, this is not necessarily all on Jalen Hurts because you can see it in the body language with his receivers, where if a receiver is not going to run the route fully and those other type of things, yeah, the pass game is not going to be successful. Like the only success that we have truly seen from Jalen Hurts this year is the connection with Dallas Goedert. But anything outside of that, it does not look good. So, people can sit here and blame Saquon and people can blame Jalen Hurts, which both of them do have some part of it. I'm going to agree. But the offensive line sucks. The offensive coordinator sucks. This team is so predictable to the point where, like, it's not hard to beat Philly. And, commentators say it all the time, where it's just like, hey, let's get them in second and third and long, and let's force them to throw the ball. If you get them in second and short, third and short, tush-push territory, that's when Philly becomes scary. That's when the run game starts to open up. But right now, I mean, respectfully, again, I like Jalen Hurts as a player. But respectfully, if coming into a week where you're going to make him throw the ball 30-plus times, you have a very good shot at winning that game.
Yeah, I agree. And, they've gotten A.J. Brown a little bit more involved these last two games, so I'm sure he's happy even though the team's losing. Yeah, the Eagles are – Hurts is more – it's kind of been that way, right? More of a product of what's around him, not so much him elevating those around him. And that's affected the run game now. And Kevin Patullo's been under heat now of – really the first offensive coordinator now for the Eagles that can't get this offense to get going. And there's a very good chance that he gets moved on or they change play callers because I believe Sirianni defended Patullo a little bit, but also said how, we'll evaluate everything, which usually is a sign of a potential change coming. Anytime a coach says that about a quarterback or an OC, we'll usually something happens. So we'll see if there is a change there and if that does anything. But, look, this is an Eagles team that now has the Chargers, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Bills, the Commanders. So, Raiders, Commanders twice are winnable games. But the Chargers and the Bills, both of those on the road, are tough games, especially a Bills team that potentially that week 17 could be fighting for their playoff lives. The Chargers still, trying to stay in the mix as well next week on Monday Night Football. So I could see this Eagles team losing 3 of their next 5. I could see them losing to the Chargers and the Bills and slipping up against one of the Raiders or Commanders. Now, they haven't really lost a game that they shouldn't have lost, except probably the Giants game. Losing the Bears or the Commanders would be losing a game that they shouldn't have, but you never know. It's a tough spot for Philly, though. They are. Here we go again. 2023 all over again.
So crazy. It's the same team that somehow rallied down from 19 against the Rams. It's insane.
And the same team that
was up 18.
Every year we go through this with Philly, but it's the same team that won the Super Bowl. But even this last year with Philly, they were 2-2. Remember they lost that? Well, they lost the game to Atlanta on Monday night, and then they had that loss to Tampa where they got smoked, and they were 2-2. And people were fire Sirianni. They do this, do that, and they went 14-3 and won the Super Bowl. So, anyway. Couple things to close out the show before we get to our underdog picks. Daniel Jones injured, broken fibula. Big blow for the Colts. Big year for Daniel Jones so far. He will now try and play through it. He did have the injury in the Chiefs game, and despite the loss, didn't play bad, had 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, but there's no other way to put it. This is a big blow for the Colts. There's been some practice clips out of Daniel Jones going through some practice, and it's clearly hindering him. It's rough. Colts currently the 3 seed right now, comfortably in the lead in the NFC or AFC South rather. You do have a Texans team that is getting hot here a bit. You still have to play the Texans twice. What are your thoughts on the Daniel Jones injury, the impact it has on the Colts? And, 6 games left here for Indy, 2 against Houston. If Daniel Jones isn't healthy, do you potentially see a change here with the division? And even throw Jacksonville in the conversation as well.
Before I even mention any of that, imagine being a guy that trades Dak Prescott away for Daniel Jones in fantasy, just to find out days later Daniel Jones has a broken leg.
That's rough. Who did that?
I don't know. Lack of ball knowledge. I mean, the trade was a helper for now. I got Daniel Jones and T. Higgins in return for Dak Prescott and Troy Franklin to find out that Daniel Jones has a broken leg. So that's rough. But I've seen the clips. It doesn't look good. He can't really move, and that's a huge part of his game. Now it's going to have to be a lot more Jonathan Taylor. They're going to have to lean heavy on Jonathan Taylor. But I think the Colts might be in jeopardy. I think they could be. They're still going to make the playoffs. There's no way. It's just no way. I see them completely losing out. Daniel Jones is going to go. I think he's going to go today. And I think a win today, like for sure, locks them into at least a guaranteed playoff spot, if not the division. But for the Colts, man, this sucks. You finally get great quarterback play that they have been lacking for quite some time. The offense looks good. You look good as a unit, and now Daniel Jones, is dealing with a broken, was it fibula, I believe it was?
Yep.
And it's going to definitely hinder the way that he can drop back, the way he can plant, the way he can move, like it's everything. But I think for the Colts, I think they still win this division. Regardless, if he's out there on the field, I think they're going to be able to get the job done. Houston has been looking good. They're hot. I don't trust Jacksonville. So I think the Colts should be safe. But, genuinely, I kind of feel for Colts fans. You finally get a good season, and it comes down to your quarterback dealing with the leg injuries with 6 games left.
Yeah, and I feel for Daniel Jones too, because this is resurrected his career, right? 8-3 right now off of the Giants disaster there at the end. Comes to the Colts. Nobody had any expectations for this team going into the year. You get a monster season from Jonathan Taylor right now, and you get a big year from Daniel Jones. And now with 6 games to go, you're going to have him try and play through this injury. And even if they make the playoffs, it's just tough to envision Daniel Jones potentially playing 10 games, right? To get to the Super Bowl, playing 10 games, assuming they don't get the first round bye, that's just kind of crazy to think that. It's tough to envision the Colts doing much right now the rest of the way. It really is. But more of an importance now goes on Jonathan Taylor and his dominance. If there's a guy right now in the NFL that could put a team on his back, it would be Jonathan Taylor. Now, the one issue with that is if there isn't a passing threat, teams could stack the box and try and stop the run, and the Colts offense could become a little bit more predictable. But my worry with the Colts is in Daniel Jones. One hit and he's done potentially. This turns into more than just this season. Potentially, he gets hurt enough where he could miss next year. So it's a tough spot for the Colts. It is. It's disappointing because they were kind of a team to keep an eye on. But you just gotta see how it all plays out. They'll face the Texans today, which will be a big one there, and a big test for Daniel Jones to see how he looks. Now, one other thing here, Chip Kelly, who we called it off air last week, we were talking about Chip Kelly, talking about how bad he was as an offensive coordinator. And fast forward a couple days later, later that day, he gets fired after the Raiders pick up another loss. So Chip Kelly's out the door. Raiders sitting at 2-9, losers of 5 in a row, coming off a loss against the Browns where they scored 10 points. The offense is just awful. 33. Just if you look at some of these losses, 9 points, 6 points, shutout, 7, 16, 10. Not modern NFL offense from the Raiders this year. Geno Smith has been awful. Chip Kelly's on his way out. And
is that the
2-9
Raiders'
Raiders.
points that they scored?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was lottery numbers. Oh, whoa. Oh, man.
They certainly didn't win the lottery, that's for sure.
Whoa.
Gosh.
It's been bad. They are 30th in total yards, 31st clearly in points per game. If that's not lottery numbers, and that's actually points scored. 31st in rushing yards per game. Geno leads the NFL in one category.
By the way. Not to cut you off, but last year the rushing offense was awful. The only team in football last year that was worse running the football was, the Raiders were the worst. And they were the only team, that was averaging under 80 yards per game on the ground. You go out and bring in Ashton Genty, and you still can't run the football. They're averaging even lower than they were last year. Not to cut you off, but they're awful running the football.
But, that was the point of going to get the running back with the 6th pick, right? We can get the running back. Your offensive line sucks. And even before I even go into the offensive line, Geno leads the league in one category and one category under. Oh, actually, but he's tied. He's not in the full lead until maybe today because now they're neck and neck. But Geno and Tua have an interception off. They're both at 13 picks on the year. So we'll just see who throws more today. This team sucks. And it's so insane because during the offseason, we were looking at this team and we didn't think the Raiders were going to be a 9, 10, 10 win type of team. We thought they would be better. We thought they can go out there and win maybe 7, maybe 8. We're like, all right, Geno has looked good in Seattle. You reunite with Pete Carroll. You get Genty. Your weapons are decent. Yeah, they should surely be able to win some games, score some points. This team is awful. And it was actually malpractice from Roger Goodell to put this team on TV against the Cowboys and to put them on TV again the week, I believe, before the week after against Jacksonville at 4:30. That is actually disrespectful to the NFL to put the Raiders on TV for us to have to watch that. This team sucks all around. You got to blow it up. Starting from, probably don't get rid of Pete Carroll, but Geno Smith going down, you have to blow it up. Like, this team is awful. There's no bright spot anywhere besides Brock Bowers, but right now, Brock Bowers reminds me of that Lambo outside the track house meme. Like, he needs to get out of there. I feel so bad for Bowers, and this organization is just so bad. Like, I cannot fathom that this team somehow at a point had Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams and Derek Carr, and now we are watching Geno Smith and this offensive line look as bad as they look. Raiders fans surely do not deserve this.
No. It's bad, and you make a good point. Even in those years where they had Carr, Devontae, Jacobs, they're still
bad.
Yeah. A lot of it's been on coaching. You had the Gruden failure. You had the Josh McDaniels train wreck. Rick Bisaccia was the only one that was able to come in and get them to the playoffs. Yeah. Antonio Pierce provided a spark for about 3 games during 2023, and that was it. And now you're on to Pete Carroll. I think you have to completely gut it. I think you have to completely blow it up. I don't even think there should be any guarantee that Pete Carroll's back. They made Chip Kelly the highest paid offensive coordinator, and you're firing him 11 games into the season. That's crazy. Now, Geno's terrible, and they'll need to find a quarterback and find a solution there because you can't waste Brock Bowers and you can't waste Genty. Like, you can't waste these guys, similar to kind of what you did with Devontae and Josh Jacobs, where even Darren Waller, not the name that name doesn't carry as much good weight anymore, but at his best, Darren Waller. And they kind of ruined those guys in terms of they wasted them a little bit. So yeah, it's bad. I don't even think there should be a guarantee that Pete Carroll comes back. He will, but I wouldn't be against if they just blow it up and restart, bring in a quarterback and try and build it back up, because year in and year out, they've just been awful. Anyway, underdog picks. So last week I went 3-0, big 3-0 week, first time this season. So I'm now 18-18 on the season. You went 2-1, so 15-21 on the season. So I guess I could begin here since I took home the win last week. I'm gonna go with Jets +3. I actually think the Jets win today. I think this is the first time I'm taking the Jets all year. I think they win today. Kirk Cousins, Tyrod Taylor, Battle of the Youngs. I don't know why the game's on TV, but it is. Rainy day at MetLife. It's going to probably be a wet, sloppy, low scoring, I think 17-14 type of game. But I'll take the Jets +3 to pick up the win here, or at least cover and lose by 1 or 2, let's say. I'm going to go Texans +3 as well. This is one that I've been kind of debating on whether or not to pick it, but you get CJ Stroud back. You hope that he could play a little bit better than he was playing earlier in the year. This is a Colts team that's obviously dealing with a banged-up quarterback. Don't really know what to expect from Daniel Jones, so I'm going to take Texans +3 in this game to pick up the win. I'm also going to, and this has been one that I've been kind of also going back and forth with whether or not to pick it. But I'm going to go Giants +7 tomorrow night on Monday Night Football. I made the mistake last week. Now, I still went 3-0, but I made the mistake last week of not going Giants +14. Jameis Winston against the Patriots, I think they actually keep it close. This is a touchdown, at +7. I think the Giants can keep it to 4 to 5 points, let's say 6 points maybe, where it's a 20, 24-20 type of game. So give me the Giants +7, not to win, but just to cover.
All right. Man. I meant to take Dallas this week, and I did not. So that is my version of drafting Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes. So here we are.
I should have taken Dallas as well.
I'm fully tanking now, but I'm right with you. I'm gonna go Texans +3. We just got into it. Don't know how Daniel Jones necessarily is gonna look today, and just Houston's defense is a wrecking ball. I mean, they have made a lot of teams look very bad this year, and I think it's gonna be another one today. I think the coach still win this game, but Houston +3. I think Stroud was back that I seen earlier. Yep. Stroud should be back. Give me Houston +3. I'm gonna go Arizona +3.5. No reasoning why. Probably a bad take, but Baker dealing with that sprained AC joint. I think he's still questionable. He's probably reported that he might play now. Bucky Irvin is coming back, but still kind of not sure what his snap count is going to look like coming off the ankle/shoulder injury. So give me Cardinals +3.5. Brissett has looked decent enough. Tampa, I don't know, man. Tampa does not look great. And then lastly, I'm gonna go Saints +5.5.
Ooh, I thought about that game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Saints +5.5. I have no confidence whatsoever, especially with Alvin Kamara not playing today. But this is just the battle of this is below mid. This is the battle of I don't know. This is gonna be bad football all around. But again, Tua being the NFL leader, tied for the NFL leader in interceptions. I think he has me today. He looks out for me, keeps his game pretty close. Give me Saints +5.5.
I like that. I like that little Tyler Shook action.
Yeah.
Gotta love the tank. All right.
Oh,
Another episode in the books. Appreciate you all as always for joining us. We'll be back next week with another episode. Hopefully another good week of football. And yeah, stay tuned for that. We'll talk to you then.